Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of COVID Conversations, Members Helping Members. I'm Scott McCammon, President and CEO of the Bolton Chamber of Commerce, and today we have a very timely and an informative session for you. Before we go any further, though, I know we did mention that the Minister of Labour was going to be joining us. Unfortunately, he's been summoned to duty at Queen's Park, so he's not able to join us today. But we're in good hands with the two experts that we have, Doug Sooley and Richard Bolton. As Halton heads into stage 2 shortly, and as businesses are trying to get back to normal, a lot of people don't know what that means. They don't know what it means for them to have a safe work environment. They don't know what it means in terms of PPE and having access to the right equipment. So that's why we thought today's show would be a good one to have, and again, perfect timing as we head into stage 2 within hours of this show. I'm going to do a bit of an introduction of our two panelists, and then we'll get started and go right into their presentations. So first presenter is Doug Sooley. Doug is the owner of Sooley Safety Services, a workplace and health safety training and consulting business based in Mississauga. Doug has 15 plus years of experience in workplace health and safety and 5 plus years of running his own company, Sooley Safety Services. Doug has a background that includes transportation, logistics and distribution, warehousing, construction, food processing, forestry, and retail. Sooley Safety Services uses the slogan "Prevent, not React," and works with small to medium-sized businesses to help them achieve occupational health and safety compliance and develop preventative measures to help eliminate or reduce incidents, lost work time, and stop work orders. Richard Bolton, our second presenter, is a senior consultant with Centricity 360, which works with small and medium-sized businesses looking for clarity, direction, and better results in the ever-changing internet e-marketplace. His business focuses on e-commerce, e-business applications, and digital marketing strategies and services. Richard is an active member of our Milton Chamber, having served as chair of the board, and also still working with our Government Relations Committee. There's a group that Richard helped us found, which is AMS Halton, which is Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster, dealing with the innovation corridor. And Richard is also the brains behind the PPE portal that was created to help local companies and healthcare providers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug to get us started.
Thank you, Scott, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you guys for joining the webinar here, and I hope that we can discuss a few things that will help you guys as you guys get ready to reopen your businesses tomorrow. Okay, so at this point, most of Ontario is basically ready to reopen or has already reopened. Unfortunately, myself here in Mississauga, we are not quite ready to head into phase 2. But it is time for you guys to reopen, there's a lot of things you have to put into place, not only to protect your workers, but also to protect your clients as they come into your businesses. So we're going to talk a little bit about due diligence. We'll talk about liability for you as the business owner. We'll also talk about how to comply. So we'll talk about a few things, including cleaning, signage, screening, physical distancing, personal protective equipment, and training. And finally, we'll talk about enforcement concerns. As I'm sure some of you have heard, the Ministry of Labour is out. They have hired more inspectors. They've also brought in TSSA inspectors and Ontario College and Trade inspectors to assist them with implementing and ensuring that COVID-19 requirements are taking place in the workplace. So one of the main reasons why we have to do anything with regards to health and safety in the workplace is what's called the due diligence clause. So under the Health and Safety Act, Section 25 is employer responsibilities. And the responsibility of the employer must do everything reasonable under the circumstances to protect the health and safety of their workers. When it comes to potential fines or even worse, this is the only defense that an employer has. The employer has the ultimate responsibility to protect the workers, but they also have to protect their clients in this current landscape. Employers could be found liable because workers or even clients could get sick. They could be found liable for health and safety violations, WSIB, or even civil suits. And they could face charges, fines, and even imprisonment and potential settlements out of court. So the Ministry of Labor at this point, or Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development, has released over 100 plus sectors specific guidelines for businesses. I believe the number now is actually 160. I have provided the link to the website here in my presentation, and it can be provided after the fact as well. They've also recently released a COVID-19 safety plan document. I would strongly suggest as a business owner that you download the document and you complete it. What it'll do is, and as we go through everything, it'll show that you've put specific measures in place for each of the different requirements in order for you to be able to reopen. So you also need to look at developing a policy and safe practices to not only deal with the normal health and safety requirements in the workplace, but also for specifically for COVID-19. So this will include cleaning, signage, screening measures, physical distancing measures, personal protective equipment, as well as training your workers. In regards to cleaning of the workplace, you all need to make sure that there's regular cleaning established in high-use areas. High-use areas are naturally classified as offices, washrooms, lunchrooms, staff break rooms. And also you need to clean and sanitize high-touch areas as well. This may include door handles, desks, and equipment. If you do take payments in your place of business as well, you need to make sure that you're consistently and frequently sanitizing and cleaning the payment method. So the little POS system that you use. One of the recommendations I have to help you comply is to set up a schedule and monitor using a checklist. Everything in regards to health and safety really has become document, document, document. So if you set up a schedule and you have a checklist and your checklist is filled out every day and the work is being done, this shows that you are putting these measures in place. So I would designate specific workers who will be doing that cleaning, or if you have a cleaning company, you may ask them to provide you with the checklist as well. In regards to signs, there are signs that you'll need to post throughout your facility or even on your site, depending on the type of business that you run. Physical distancing signs should be posted throughout the facility. The government has released some of these signs. It will be two people basically standing beside each other with a 2-meter arrow between them. Something along those lines is certainly sufficient. It is available free of charge through the COVID-19 websites. Hand washing and sanitizing. Halton Region Health Department requires hand washing signs to be posted in your washrooms anyway. These will be sufficient. However, you want to make sure you also post them in reception and any main area where there's a large group of workers. And also you want to post a sign on your front door and any entrance stating that any symptoms that a person is feeling, they must report them immediately and do not enter the building. All of these signs can be found online through the COVID website. The Ministry of Labor Training, Skills and Development has also provided sector-specific signs that are available for use. You should post any signs in the languages that are spoken in the workplace. And as you can see, I have provided a link where you can find additional signage for your workplace. In regards to screening, it's very important to make sure that you're screening your employees, but you're also screening your clients. There's two different types of screening. There's active screening and there's passive screening. Passive screening is normally an employee or a client would have to report symptoms or just posting signs in the workplace. This is okay. However, at this point, it is not sufficient. Now we're looking at active screening. Active screening would be more like a questionnaire that would be provided to employees to fill out every morning, or it could even mean temperature checks. At this point, in regards to getting a temperature monitor, it's very difficult if you don't have one already, and there are usually significant delays. It doesn't mean that you don't try and do it, and it doesn't mean you don't do screening until that comes in. A questionnaire is a great way for you to practice active screening on a daily basis with your workers. The screening must be done at the start of the workday, and it must be done if a person leaves the facility and comes back from lunch, or they leave the premises for any significant period of time. What you can use documentation-wise, as I said, you need to document everything, is your checklist for questionnaires and your sign-in and check sheets. If you have a sign-in sheet for your front door for any visitors, adding a small little area that talks about the COVID symptoms, that talks about whether someone's traveled, adding a little spot there where the visitor can check those off is a great way to help further your COVID screening in your workplace. For workers, I would strongly suggest having a daily screening done at the start of the day. You can develop a form that each worker can fill out, or if you want to develop a form that has a monthly checklist on it and it gets filled out each day, you can also take that route as well. Physical distancing, regardless of where you are, you must maintain 6 feet distance. And in the workplace, that can be very difficult to do. In my experience with my current clients, I have clients in the construction industry where there's smaller job sites and workers can actually maintain 6 feet of distance. I also work with a lot of meat plants where physical distancing is pretty much unachievable due to the way that production is set up. The amount of money it could cost to change production lines is significant. When possible, you should always try and make sure your workers are spaced out so that they are at least 6 feet apart. Some ways that you can do this include rearranging, reconfiguring, or reorganizing work areas, minimizing clients and customers within your facility, minimizing the workers in each work area. You can also stagger breaks and lunches to reduce workers, or even stagger your shifts or minimize your staff on shifts. If you have workers that are currently working from home, I would allow them to continue working from home. This helps minimize the number of staff that you have on site and making sure that the people on site are the essential people that need to be in the workplace. Placing markings on the floor to show 6 feet of distancing. This is important, especially with office areas as well as stores. Having those markers on the floor shows your clients as well as your workers that they may need to maintain 6 feet. And you could also install and use plexiglass in cash, service, or even reception areas. I know a client that I have coming up is a salon, and one of the things they're looking at is putting plexiglass in between each station. This can certainly help with physical distancing, considering it could be very difficult to achieve that. But as I said, sometimes it's just not possible. Plexiglass and barriers to separate workers and workstations is a great tip to use. Staggering breaks and lunches to reduce the workers on site. Minimizing client and customers in the workplace. If you're in an office where the majority of clients coming in are for meetings and things like that, I would strongly suggest trying to use Zoom or another online method to hold those meetings. Or you could try to hold those meetings outside where you can maintain 6 feet. You could set up other break and lunch arrangements, such as outdoor spaces. And if you're going to use PPE as part of those methods, you should always make sure that your workers have masks and face shields if they cannot maintain 6 feet. I can tell you from experience dealing with the Ministry of Labor inspectors that this was a requirement that came up. The masks just are not good enough if the workers cannot physically distance. So having masks and face shield worn by workers who cannot maintain 6 feet will go a long way towards protecting your workers as well as protecting the general clientele. So we'll talk a little bit about PPE. I know Richard is going to go over PPE in a bit more detail and what's available and where you can source it. But let's talk about sanitizer. Sanitizer must be set up at any entrance, around any washroom in high traffic areas. And you must ensure that your sanitizer meets Health Canada standards. There is a sanitizer recently that's being recalled because it has too high of an alcohol content and it's industrial grade. Please make sure that when you are ordering sanitizer that the sanitizer complies with Health Canada standards. I have provided a link where you can find out whether the sanitizer you're looking at will comply with those standards. With regards to masks, there are non-surgical masks, surgical masks, and N95. These are the minimum requirements in a workplace. It does depend on your workplace, the task being performed, and also exposure to chemicals. One of the things with COVID is it doesn't matter whether it's you're buying a mask for COVID. If you are performing work where you're handling chemicals, you still have to wear the proper mask that your safety data sheet states. This means you may need a higher grade mask, such as a self-contained breathing apparatus, air purifying, or an air supplied mask. And you must ensure proper fit for each workers. Whenever it's an N95 or a higher grade mask, you must also perform a mask fit test. This helps ensure that the mask fits properly on the worker and it makes sure that it's going to protect them. Face shields with your mask are ideal if physical distancing is not possible. If you have a screener who is performing screening activities, they should be wearing a mask and face shield while they're performing these activities. And if you have workers on a production line, for example, or workers in a small area, they should also be wearing a face shield and mask. Gloves, you can purchase gloves. You can purchase nitrile or latex gloves. But just remember that these gloves do not replace proper hand washing and sanitizing requirements. And as I said before, even though that we are dealing specifically with COVID, you still need to maintain your health and safety in other areas as well, and overall for the workplace. So you must make sure your workers are wearing boots, hard hats where they apply, safety vests, eye protection, ear protection. And again, this does depend on the business and the type of work that you are doing. So for training, it's important to make sure that you train your workers. You can put everything together. You can buy all the PPE. You can implement physical distancing. You can put signs on the floor, signs throughout the workplace. But if you don't train your workers, then they're coming back and they don't know what's going on. A lot of your workers are probably still going to be concerned about their safety while they are in the workplace. A lot of them may be looking to come back, but they still have those concerns in the back of their mind. So you must make sure that you provide training to your workers. Talk about the symptoms. Talk about hand washing and sanitizing, proper hand washing procedures. So washing your hands for 20 seconds, rubbing the front of your hands, rubbing the back, between your fingers, around your thumbs, and your fingernails. Okay? Physical distancing measures. So talk about the measures that you've put into place and tell workers that it is a requirement for them to follow it. Talk to them about who to report symptoms to. and what to do if they do have symptoms, where to get more information. Providing them with access to the COVID website is very important. And also you have to talk to them about the right to refuse. Although we are starting to open up more and more businesses in the region, you still have to talk to your workers about the right to refuse. The worker still has a right to refuse if they feel that they are unsafe. This has not changed with regards to COVID. It has actually been magnified. The best time to train your workers is as soon as they start, but also have regular reminders. One of the things that I've done is developing a safety talk. So regardless of the workplace that you're in, holding a quick meeting to discuss all of these things, whether you do it weekly, monthly, daily. If you have daily meetings, it might be a good idea to remind them. But holding a weekly safety talk or a monthly safety talk would be a good idea as well. So currently at this point, the Ministry of Labor is visiting workplaces. They are checking on COVID-19 compliance. But as I'm sure you may be aware, the Ministry of Labor inspector, when he shows up on site, he will check everything else. It is almost always unannounced. It's very rare that they will announce that they are showing up. When they do show up, they will issue notice of compliance orders, stop work orders, or fines if they find any issues or concerns or violations. There has been, I believe, 24 stop work orders issued in workplaces in Ontario since the start of COVID. Although it doesn't seem like a lot when they've done about 10,000 inspections, a stop work order can cost you a significant amount of money. They will also come back. So if they issue a notice of compliance, it's important that you make sure you complete what is required and notify them, and they will come back. So don't just do it just to do it because you're going to prevent something further from happening. And as I've always said, just because we're in COVID right now, it doesn't mean you can let safety in general fall up to the side. Always make sure that your health and safety is a top priority in your workplace. So I've provided a few links here to some information. The Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development. This page has information in regards to the Ministry of Labor and what they do, as well as a contact number for questions, reports, and complaints. Public Health Ontario and Health Canada will have information in regards to COVID and some of the measures that are being put into place. And the Ontario Government COVID response page. This is where you'll find information such as your signs, your guidelines, as well as general information for workplace owners. And if you do have any questions at any point, please feel free to reach out to me. I have provided my contact information here. I do post daily on social media as well. I will post some tips and facts that you can review and use in your workplaces as well. So feel free to add me. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Richard?
Okay, thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. Some great information was given by Doug there. I really recommend that. I'm hoping that the presentation from Doug will go out to some of our visitors today on the webinar, because I think there's some important links there that they can take advantage of by going to some of those links to get the information. So my name is Richard Bolton. As Scott had mentioned in the initial setup there, I'm owner and senior consultant at Centricity 360. And my purpose today is first of all, I hope that all of you are well and your families are well. And I'm also hoping that I'm wishing you the best of luck to a healthy and safe opening of your business as stage 2 comes upon us. The purpose of my presentation today is to talk to you briefly about the Halton COVID-19 response, the micro PPE portal that the Milton Chamber of Commerce put together. My company, Centricity 360, working with Scott McCammon at the Chamber, put together the portal for the Chamber of Commerce, really for one main reason at the time, and that was to assist in tracking down local sources of PPE procurement equipment for hospitals and long-term care facilities. And you know, we did a great job in putting this together really fast. I remember when Scott and I first talked about it, it was back in April. I believe that I sat down, believe it or not, on Easter morning and wireframed the site together and put all the content together. My designer designed it on Monday, and we launched it actually on the Wednesday of that week. So it was really sort of a whirlwind, but we knew it was really important that we get this portal together to get it in front of healthcare providers who really seriously needed the needed PPE equipment, and also for businesses, local businesses as well. As we start to reopen, it's becoming more and more important that we have access to this safety equipment. So what I'm going to do today is just briefly take you through an update on the portal as to where we're at. And then I'm going to do a brief demo just so that you know how to access it. And that'll be my presentation for this morning. And then Doug and I will take some questions regarding what you've heard today. So regarding the portal itself, to date, after we've developed it, it's been running for a couple of months. You know, how it works for us is, you know, the Chamber is monitoring it. My company is monitoring the website as the submissions from the portal come in. We're working with a local MPP office, Parham Gill, and his administrative staff are helping us to match companies who have PPE equipment with local companies that require it, or local healthcare facilities that require it. So to date, we've had some great successes that I can report. We've had over 120 suppliers have registered with the portal, which is really easy to do. We've had well over 50 companies have requested PPE or related supplies for their business locally. And we've also provided about 40 matches of those suppliers with companies in need. We've had a lot of companies come forward, those companies that may not have been essential type businesses in the beginning, that weren't open, that had PPE equipment that were willing to donate it so that essential businesses and healthcare could carry on. So that's been great that we've received lots of donations. And we've had lots of volunteers come forward as well too. And those volunteers have been really, really necessary. I'll give you an example. We've had lots of seniors in the Halton region area that need help with shopping. And we have some of our volunteers going out and shopping for them and bringing them necessary needs. And we've also had some of those volunteers actually going to the Milton Farmers Market to pick up food for seniors in the area. So it's really been a success overall in terms of what we've seen. And we hope to see it continue to be a success as we enter stage 2. So just to kind of give you an overview of what we're doing, once you submit on the form at the portal, that information is collected. I assess it, and we consolidate it into an Excel spreadsheet, which we give access only to MPP Parham Gill's office and the Milton Chamber of Commerce. And on the back end, what we do is facilitate the matching of the suppliers with the local businesses that really need that equipment right now, because some small businesses are having a hard time tracking down the necessary PPE equipment. I mean, we're thrilled that the federal and provincial government have supplied hospitals and long-term care facilities now with the needed supply they need, but now we need to pivot and help our small businesses to ensure that they have the proper equipment to protect their employees and to protect their company and customers, excuse me. And once the matching is facilitated, then we do a little bit of follow-up to see, if the transaction has taken place, just to get those success stories there. I think it's really important that we understand that these businesses succeed in getting the necessary PPE equipment that they need. Just to give you a couple of local success stories, we've done a lot of work helping not-for-profits. So examples are Meals on Wheels, the Bob Rumble Center for the Deaf, and a local women's shelter as well too. We've provided necessary PPE equipment and supplies for them to keep running their organization and providing community service. We've also helped certain healthcare providers like Nurse Next Door, and also many different clinics within the Milton and Halton region area have been contacting us looking for necessary gowns, specifically gloves, particular types of gloves, and dental practices that are doing emergency services that require the necessary PPE equipment. So they've been submitting on the portal, and we've been doing the best we can to match them going forward. An example of a local business that we've helped, Sargent Farms. Many of you know in downtown Milton, we've helped them source certain PPE equipment that they require. So we've really had some great success stories that we wanted to share with the group today, and hopes that we continue as we go forward. So now we are shifting a little bit of a refocus with the portal. Initially, when we set it up, it was really about priority first was local hospitals, long-term care facilities, and frontline workers. So we know that we've helped them. We know that the province and the federal government have really done a lot to source the proper equipment, and they have lots of supply now. So now our purpose is to refocus the portal as our service essential businesses start to reopen. As we know, Milton goes to stage 2 on Friday. So we have the necessity to ensure that there is PPE supplies for some of the companies that need it as we go forward. So, as we were doing a lot of matching, we've now built up a fairly comprehensive list of local suppliers that have in stock PPE equipment. So if you are, or you know of a company that is in dire need of making sure that they get it to protect their customers, to protect their employees, we have a list of local suppliers that they can call immediately, that they can source that equipment. So they can immediately go to that list and find the necessary help that they need. Okay, so now I'm just going to take you quickly through the portal itself, and that will pretty much be my presentation for today. I just wanted to kind of give an update on where the portal is and how we've pivoted that portal to start focusing on the reopening of businesses. So I'm just going to scoot over to the Milton Chamber of Commerce website, and I'm hoping you're all seeing that. So on the front page of the Milton Chamber of Commerce, you're going to see it prominently displayed that the micro PPE procurement portal is available. If you want to access it, you can click Learn More, or you can go up to COVID-19 Business Support and head down to the Halton COVID-19 Response. Okay. And you will find the portal that we created. So really it's a very easy to use portal in terms of submitting your information here. It gives you a little bit of detail in terms of what it's all about. and what people are submitting on the portal in terms of what their requirements are for face masks, for shields. You know, you've seen all these new plexiglass enclosures. I was fortunate enough to go golfing yesterday and know that the golf cart now has a plastic barrier in between each driver. So all these necessities that we need to protect our customers and employees are in place, as Doug had mentioned in his presentation. So now it's, you know, how do we source all these sort of things? So if you're looking for these types of gowns, masks, or sanitizers exactly, just make sure you're looking to the portal to let us know how we can help in any way, shape, or form. So from this perspective on the portal itself, you'll see down the right-hand side some of the requirements that people are looking for in terms of the equipment, specifically N95 masks. I know that the disposable face shields are in great need, disinfectant wipes, and any type of hand sanitizer as well too. But what I really want to do is direct you to just the link to the we need section on the portal itself. So what we really want you to do as a business is tell us what you need in terms of equipment. So if you just want to click on that, you're going to go to a form that we created, and really it's a basic form for submitting your contact information, your organization if you wish, and just your location information. And really what we want to find out more about is just tell us about what products you need. Tell us what supplies you need. It doesn't necessarily have to be specifically face mask or anything like that. If you need anything from a safety perspective for your employees, let us know, and we'll do the best we can to find a supplier, source it for you. And then some notes from there, and just about basic click submit form. And after you've submitted that, it goes into an Excel spreadsheet, and we can address it on our end in terms of the requirements you need. So very basic form, but it starts our engine, our process, what we've set up on the back end to connect right through Bolton with MPP offices, MP offices, with local chambers of commerce and suppliers. Let us get that engine working for you so we can supply the necessary products that you need. As you can see on the portal itself, this is where suppliers would go to submit what they have in stock. I'll quickly go into that and just show you that it's a very basic form. Again, the difference being, tell us about your products that you have. Do you have a lot of storage of PPE that you want to donate? Or is this for purchase procurement? So is a small business in Halton region going to buy this from you? So, I'm really need to know if you have immediate inventory of this. It's great that you're selling this type of PPE equipment, but if it's going to take you a month or more to get it, it's not as much of a priority as somebody who needs it right now, and we want to match them with people who have stock right now locally. In here, just give us a description of what supplies you have. The other two sections on the portal itself, again, are donations that are non-PPE related. We have had a lot of people donate things that are directly for frontline workers. So that in itself is really important for us to capture. And of course, we need volunteers. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're interested in volunteering in any way, shape, or form for senior care in the Halton region, we really want to hear from you so that we can, get those necessary services to the people that require them. So, in itself, that's the portal. It's very basic, form driven, but we want to work with you to try and help you get that necessary PPE equipment. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for stepping up and supporting the idea that we drove and developed this portal, the Town of Milton, Parm Gill's office, and the various chambers across Halton that are helping us to facilitate this and get it rolling. So if you have requirements for PPE, or you know a business that requires PPE, please let them know about the portal. It is available right off the Milton Chamber of Commerce website, and we're servicing all of Halton region. So that is, in a nutshell, my presentation for today. I look forward to any questions either today or offline in terms of, you know, anything that we've had in terms of my company, in terms of developing this. I know we're doing a lot of work right now on e-commerce because a lot of companies are looking to sell their products and services online. So if we can help you there, if we can help you any way with the portal, please let us know. And at that, I will pass it back to Scott.
That's great. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Doug, for both of your presentations. Just a reminder too, for everyone that's online with us, that we do have the Q&A box open. So if you do have any questions for Doug or Richard, just put them in there. I want to mention too that you know, Richard had this vision for the PPE portal, and the Chamber was more than happy to support that. But it was really his vision, and I think it's important to note that you know, we were, you know, with Richard's vision, then we were one of the first communities to put together this kind of a PPE portal, which was then copied by other communities. So not only were we able to do it for Halton region, but we were able to create a tool that was used across Ontario and is now actually promoted on the Ontario government website as well. So we're very proud of what we've been able to do with Richard. Richard, can you touch a little bit on the supplier list? Because I know we try to cleanse the list and make sure that the suppliers are legitimate. We've had some people that are international suppliers that we've removed from the list.
Sure, yeah. You know, the one thing, it's been overwhelming in terms of the submissions from suppliers. I monitor it daily in terms of what I'm seeing from suppliers. The challenge becomes is we've had suppliers from around the globe submitting on the portal itself. And, you know, initially, you know, the whole idea was for us to match local suppliers with local companies. So what we've done is we've filtered that list. You know, there's lots of companies from across the world that have submitted on the portal. We've filtered out some of those that aren't as legitimate as we thought. We give priority to local companies and Canadian-based companies. And we've also, what we've done is tried to categorize them based on the equipment that they provide. So if they're face shields only or masks only, even if they're providing plexiglass and that sort of thing as well too. And so what we've done is we've provided a comprehensive list based on geography, so that the closer they are, the faster you can get the supply. And we've also assessed each company for the amount of inventory they have as well.
Great, thank you. Doug, you were talking earlier about the Ministry of Labor and the inspectors and how, you know, they may do surprise inspections. At one point, you know, the Premier and the Minister were saying that they were going to do inspections more as advisors rather than enforcers, right? So the notion was the inspectors would be coming out and trying to help companies understand what they need to do rather than immediately, you know, writing them up or fining them. Are you finding that's true?
I'm finding, I mean, they're definitely writing companies up. I know recently they took an initiative where they're basically targeting all of the meat plants in Ontario. And they actually, in this case, surprisingly, they actually announced the day before that they would be coming in. So, but as I said, they came in, they discussed COVID requirements, but they're also looking at everything else. So as I said before, you have to make sure that everything on top of COVID, everything else is also up to speed. But they haven't been issuing fines, in my experience, up to this point. it is more of an educational. They're talking about what needs to be done, but anything that they are finding, they are definitely going to be coming back. And I know I've had a couple of clients where they've actually come back in right around the time where they gave as like their deadline on their notice to comply. They've been in like within the next day or two just to double check to make sure that everything's been done. So it's kind of one of those things. If they come in, it is the educational part, but they are going to issue those notices, but they are definitely going to be coming back in and enforcing it at that point. So if nothing's done, then you're going to be looking at potentially stop work, or depending on the type of incident, it'll be probably a fine as well.
So a lot of our local companies are tenants within buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a question around what responsibility the landlord has to put signage on the front doors, to have hand sanitizers at the front doors, versus what the tenants may do. And if the landlord's not doing it, what can the tenant do to make sure it's happening properly?
If the landlord's not doing it, then the tenant has a right to contact the public health and also the Ministry of Labor as well. A landlord is required to put it at their main entrances to buildings. Within the actual tenant location, it is up to the tenant to maintain health and safety in those areas. So they need to have their signs up for their workers. They need to have the sanitizer at the front of their entrance to their workplace. But I do a lot of work downtown Toronto, and a lot of those buildings, there's tenants throughout the buildings, but there's also that main entrance. So you look at like a shopping mall. In those instances, it would be up to the landlord at that point to be able to put the signs out in the front of the entrances, to put sanitizer at those entrances as well.
And a lot of the washrooms are in common areas, so it's up to the landlord to put
It would be up to the
sanitizer
landlord
on
at that point as well. So
you're also talking about let's say it's an office workspace, and the workers are wearing a 3-ply mask, possibly face shield. In a common sort of 7 to 8 hour workday, how often would employees have to change a 3-ply mask, or does a mask last all day?
if it's an N95, I mean, they could probably wear it for the day. It's a matter of if they're taking it on and off. That's kind of the big thing, if they are leaving it on. What I found in a lot of office areas is they've gone the plexiglass route. So I've seen in a lot of like cubicles and workstations and stuff, they've installed plexiglass along the fronts and the sides to kind of help protect those workers, and then physical distancing markers on the ground, even whether it's honestly, even if it's a taped X on the ground, just to show that it's 6 feet. That's kind of what a lot of office areas have gone with, because the mask can be uncomfortable for workers. And in some cases, if a worker has a respiratory issue, not COVID, of course, but if they have, say, asthma or something like that, and they do decide they're going to come in, then they can't necessarily wear a mask for 8 hours in a workday. So the offices and the businesses have kind of gone with that plexiglass route to kind of at least put those barriers up, and it allows the workers to still work without having to put a mask on or having to put a face shield on.
It's hard though too, because I'm imagining an office where people are going to the photocopier, they're going to the the coffee machine, so they may have their own kind of safe workspace, but as they're just doing their job throughout the day, they're going past other employees to other places, and so it becomes really difficult in some cases to stay physically distanced all day.
I think it becomes really tedious more than anything, because I think then you have to look at, well, do you only have one person at the copier at a time? Do you stagger the work breaks so that there's only one person there? Your screening measures are also going to help as well, because if you are doing the screening when the workers are coming in, then if they're showing symptoms, you're not even letting them in that door.
Mm-hmm.
So but we all know it's asymptomatic as well. So they may not be showing symptoms, but they may still have it. So.
Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate both of you taking time today to do this webinar with us. I don't know if Doug and Richard, you have any parting comments before we wind down the show?
All I will say is for business owners, just do your best, review the guidelines that the ministry's put out. If you do have questions, I mean, I'm certainly available to assist with that. The government has posted a lot of good information that businesses can use as well. And if you are looking for PPE, I would contact Richard or contact the chamber and see if you can use the portal to help you out with that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Doug, for presenting your presentation today. I think there was some fantastic information. In fact, I'm interested in getting a copy of it for myself as well too. And thanks, Scott, very much for hosting the webinar today. You know, like I said, we've built the portal for Halton region. We want to hear from small businesses that might be having trouble tracking down necessary PPE or related supplies. So please, if there's anything, don't hesitate to submit on the portal. Let us know what your requirements are, and we'll get our you know, admin engine on the back end looking for the necessary supplies for you. So please make use of the application. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Doug.
And thank you again, both, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. That's today's episode of COVID Conversations, members helping members, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.